Hi, my name is Devin Williamson, and I'm going to explain about Title I in Oregon schools. So, what it is an act that came out in 1965 and was specifically to elaborate on funds in underserved communities and specifically to low achieving students. With that, they received additional funding to bring students up to speed so that they would get the one-on-one support that they were needing. Currently, there are 60% of public and charter schools that qualify for Title I, and in Oregon specifically, a Title I school can either be a school-wide program or a targeted specific program. So out of those two routes determine how much funding you get and what that funding can be allocated for. And with that, 60% of schools are Title I. Initially, it was seen as a bit of a federal overreach, and people were worried as to how much control it would be. But it was considered a huge step for civil rights movement, and people thought that it would be a wonderful advocacy for underserved communities and children that hadn't been getting the services that they need. A few years down the road, people said that it felt a little bit sloppy and that it wasn't very well organized being implemented initially. Current reviews say that it feels a little bit outdated and calls for modern updates. Especially with an evaluation of distribution of funds. Some people say that there's some that are wasted or that it could be tightened up, but it's also, if the students are receiving benefit from it, then is it truly a waste? With that, there could be greater monitoring for allocation of funds and seeing what is necessary. But again, if it's benefiting the child, then that's the point of the act. Some strengths are that it brings the support to those who are truly needing it or are just barely flying under the radar and aren't quite getting it. It can provide more opportunities for jobs for people to be in an educational setting, which can enrich a lot of community members' lives and give them an opportunity to strengthen the community. The financial support from the federal government does give some flexibilities for schools to get to choose how funds are allocated, as long as it's meeting specific requirements. So that can be seen as a privilege as well, rather than just receiving materials or something that's already regimented. Financial support can have a little bit more of a flexibility. And there's a flexible commitment within the Title I itself, whether it can be a whole school-wide implemented program, or if it's a targeted specific program. And so you can have, it's again a privilege to have a bit of that flexibility. With everything, there are some weaknesses where it could have some opportunity for misuse of funds, or if it's not monitored properly, that funds aren't being utilized the best way that they could. Again, an increase in spending is hard, and unless people are seeing the benefits of it, it's hard to keep up morale for that. Underserved children might be needing different services that the school isn't ready to provide or isn't qualified to provide. Specifically in rural areas, it can be low community support for things like speech therapy, occupational therapy, mental health awareness, and that might be the thing that the child is actually needing and would benefit from, but then again, the school is not able to provide it. It can feel complicated and outdated. A reflection of this is that the principle is idealistic and wonderful. It's always nice to give opportunity for more resources to be utilized. But the function of it can always be evaluated. Are children actually receiving benefit from it, or is it just another funnel for resources? If the rules aren't explicitly stated, it can be hard for schools to understand if they're within requirements or if they're actually meeting the expectations that are needed to receive Title I funds. Or it can be challenging for a school to meet them overall, even if it is something that makes sense. It might be something that the school isn't quite prepared for. And again, students might need different services than the school actually has. If it's in a more supported area, the child might be able to receive those benefits through school because funds can be used in that way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the school has the opportunities for those resources to come into it. And thank you for your time.